Welcome to Bill and Jalen's NBA Playoffs Preview.
We can't just be happy here on Bill and Jalen's 2014 playoff preview. We got to talk about the sad stories too. And sadly, some Western Conference coaches are going to lose their jobs if things don't work out for them. Would you say 1, 2, 3? I'll say this. The over-under is 1.5. Would you go over or under?
Okay, let me go down the teams. The Spurs will keep their coach regardless. OKC, there have been some rumblings, but they will keep their coach regardless.
Now, let's say they lose in round 1.
They will keep their coach regardless. Scotty Brooks has done a terrific job with that.
If they lose in round 1, he's gone.
If they lose in round 1, they're going to blame that roster. Perry Jones III and Jeremy Lamb and Hasheem Thabeet and Kendrick Perkins
running up
and down the court with combat boots on.
Golden State, Houston, Oklahoma City. Those are the 3.
That's where you're going, correct.
So out of those 3 teams, let's say Golden State loses in round 1. We think they get a new coach.
I don't think that'd be smart.
You don't think that'd be smart?
No.
Did you think it was interesting that they didn't defend him at all as all the drama with his assistant coaches happened these last couple weeks?
I think
the owner never came out and said, I know this is weird, but Mark Jackson's our guy. He's going to be our guy for the future. Owner never said that.
You don't have to, as long as you continue to pay me, and as long as when I ask you to put this guy off the bench, you do it, you're listening to what I say. So I'm fine with that. The whole issue is that the next year is his last year of his contract. And what happens in professional sports, that kind of creates a lame duck liaison for the players, for the media, and some tension sometimes between coach and management if you don't get to the quote-unquote expectation.
Can I ask you an honest question?
Sure.
Take your love of Mark Jackson aside. You played with Mark Jackson.
Sure.
You like Mark Jackson.
Absolutely. But I would also say if I felt like he was doing a poor job or a good job. I think he's doing a good job. I think from the outside looking in, a lot of people overrate the Golden State Warriors' talent.
That's where I was going. Because I feel like Golden State is underachieving, but then I take the roster guy by guy. Harrison Barnes might not be good.
Draymond Green is a solid NBA player.
Draymond Green shouldn't be your 3rd most consistent player on the team.
Jermaine O'Neal is almost in his, 18th or 19th season.
Yeah, Jermaine O'Neal quit on the Celtics 2 years ago and should have been out of the league, and now all of a sudden had this rejuvenation, but they're actually relying on him in the playoffs, which speaks to your Mark Jackson case.
Injuries to David Lee. He may not even play in the playoffs.
He's always injured.
He was injured in last year's
But that's the thing. They gave a lot of money to Lee and Bogut, 2 guys that have had trouble staying on the court. Steph Curry's been their most reliable. Klay Thompson, for all the talent he has, does this. And you could make a case that roster is not as good as we seem to think it is. It's a really fun roster to watch.
Correct. And Steph Curry's a terrific scorer, a terrific offensive player. He has become one of the top draws in the league, as well as one of the top players in the league. But he's in a different category right now. And that's the category of being a guard that's able to score the basketball and get assists, but also lead your team.
Yep.
And that's what Kyrie Irving is trying to learn to do.
Instead, he's Stephon Marbury, Steve Francis 2.0.
And
Kyrie right now.
That's a tough dynamic.
Yeah.
Like Damian Lillard gets to play with LaMarcus Aldridge.
Right.
Okay, another legitimate all-star. Kyrie doesn't have that luxury. Steph Curry doesn't have that luxury.
With all that said, I still don't think – I watch the Warriors and I get frustrated because I think Mark Jackson sometimes tries to coach them like he's coaching one of those late 90s Eastern Conference pounded-in teams, and it's like that's a team that should play like Phoenix does. You know, where it's like the way they play when they're down 15 is the way I wish they played all the time. You know what I mean? They're down 15, they're like, all right, Steph, try to get us back in this. That's how I want them to play.
I'm going to name a couple of teams for you. First off, the Clippers have the best set of bigs in the 4 and 5 in Blake and DeAndre to change ends of the floor as I can remember in recent memory.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're talking about up and down guys.
Up and down.
Yeah.
But normally when you play a 6'9" guy with a 7-foot guy, you're a half-court team.
Yep.
Look at the Pacers. That's been their issue sometimes. Sometimes the Bulls.
Yep.
That's their issue. Those teams go through lulls of scoring. And that's what happens with Golden State. The geometry of their roster forces them a lot of times to play 2 bigs.
Yeah, I don't like it. I like when they have shooters. If I was playing them in a series, the whole time I would be like, I really hope Mark Jackson doesn't play the lineup when they have all the shooters, because that's the one I'm afraid of.
And the other team that we're talking about in this dynamic, the Houston Rockets, they fight that dynamic by coming out saying, we're not playing Dwight with Asik. We're not doing it.
Which I think is a mistake.
Correct.
Because they based it off the first month of the season when those guys looked awkward together. But if they played the Clippers in a series or something, I think they should play those guys together against Blake and DeAndre.
That's the dynamic, and that's why I compared the two. Either you're going to be a half-court team that plays legitimate 4 and 5, or you're going to play 4 around 1. And so,
But don't you think the Rockets should play 4 around 1? That's their team. Because when Asik's in for Howard was hurt the last couple weeks here. Asik comes in and it looks like the same team. Nothing has changed.
But besides the Miami Heat that have LeBron James, who they use a lot at 4, and Chris Bosh a lot at 5, we haven't really seen a 4 around 1 team be dominant and win a championship in our league just yet.
Orlando in 2009 came probably the closest in recent memory.
Yes. So
actually, could you say the 2002 Lakers and like those 3 Laker teams? Well, that was basically Robert Horry was on the outside. So
correct.
That was like that.
Besides the teams that had Robert Horry.
Yep.
I mean, that's how they played with Houston in the mid-'90s. That's how he played.
Hakeem. That's another good example.
That's how he played with Tim Duncan. 4 around 1.
So, over under 1.5. I'm going to go over.
I'm going to go under.
I think at least 2. I think McHale, if Houston doesn't make round 2, is out.
Dwight Howard, you haven't seen him play in 2 weeks. If they get eliminated in the first round, they're not going to fire the coach because of that.
There's a lot of good potential coaches.
And also, rewind last summer. Well, we want Dwight to go to Houston so he could be closer to Hakeem and so he could work on post moves with Kevin McHale. You can't sell him on that and sell the franchise on that and then fire the guy the next year. That's just a flagrant foul.
Tell everyone the real reason Dwight went to Houston.
No state taxes.
What
and
else?
To get out of L.A.
What
and
else?
To get from playing with D'Antoni.
And what else?
A lot of reasons.
Barbecue?
Well,
Gentlemen's establishments?
No, we talked about Houston being one of my favorite traveling road cities.
I'm going to say Dwight's one of Dwight's favorites, too.
And to play with James Harden.
I think Dwight's enjoyed the nightlife every once in a while.
Yes.
Or maybe some of the temptations that have been out there.
Hey, that's coming to
He's enjoyed the hell out of them.
That's some of the fruits and vegetables that come with being a terrific player.
Fruits and vegetables.